The brain is responsible for everything. It's the most important organ that we have. Neurotrauma and psychological health protects the brain. I mean, we're looking at ways to, protect, treat, and restore brain function as a whole. So it's the brain health PMO. Warfighter sustained brain injuries in the garrison environment and in the deployed environment. So in a deployed setting, they could get a brain injury from an improvised explosive device going off, hitting their vehicle, from potentially being shot in the head if the helmet doesn't work. If someone does experience a brain injury that's on what we like to call the more mild side, like a concussion, there is a window of time where if they're not given treatment or rest and they were to go back out and experience a second concussion, then it could be devastating. And when it comes to more significant brain injuries, I mean, like I said, the brain controls everything in the body. So if you have a brain injury, you're going to have considerable loss of function that impairs readiness and impairs the ability to go back out and fight. Our warfighters are being asked to do something that no one else wants to do. They're asked to potentially injure other human beings, and that can be psychologically devastating. Our brain deals with those unique situations when you're in the deployed environment by compensating and allowing warfighters to do their mission. And so the physiological reactions you have in your brain during that time are healthy and necessary. They become an issue when you get back to the United States, to your home, and it's still happening and your brain sort of hasn't shut off. So for instance, vehicles are often used as explosive devices, and if that's something you're used to for a year when you're deployed and you're constantly looking out for vehicles or dangerous looking persons that could have put a package on the ground, and then you come back home and you get reintegrated into your home life and you have to go to a parking lot like at a Target where there's 105 vehicles, that could be something that triggers an overwhelming emotional distress. So the problem with the brain is it's unique, it's in charge of everything. It's made up of lots of different cell types. Like your liver is made up of liver cells and they all kind of do the same thing. But your brain is made up of many different cells, all who have different jobs and functions. And so while some injuries of the brain, like if you were to be shot and have an open hole in your head, those injuries are easy to see. You obviously can see there's tissue damage. But the psychological injuries at this point are harder to see. So I think within the whole spectrum of brain injury and psychological health problems, we're trying to figure out from the whole gamut of treating them to help our warfighters. So trying to figure out how do you identify the injury when it happens or when it has become a problem. So how do you identify the problem? How do you diagnose it? On the battlefield, we're trying to provide solutions for triage. So when there are injuries, how can you determine who needs to be treated first? Sometimes brain injuries can be more silent. So if someone experiences an IED going off inside a vehicle, they could have multiple injuries. They could be bleeding from a limb and they could have a head injury and they might be unconscious. So it's difficult to tell if they have a head injury, if it's a closed head injury. And the medic at that point might just focus on the bleeding limb, not knowing that they also have a head injury. So we're trying to provide solutions for those medical providers for how can they identify, triage those patients, get them to more definitive care, and then on the back end, how do we restore function if function is lost? So our PMO is responsible for providing medical solutions across that whole spectrum of brain injury and psychological health. We're a small PMO, but we have a smaller number of programs that are larger programs. So our goal is really to get solutions fielded to the warfighter.
Congratulations on your big win. And so I'd like to present this to you. Congratulations.
For our laboratory assay for traumatic brain injury is the first blood test for brain injury. To me, that's exciting for the PMO to be involved in the first ever development of a solution. I think in the area of brain health, there's been a lot of research dollars focused in it in the last decade, and so I think we are, in the next decade, we'll be coming to see some of the solutions that are coming out of it. So I think it's going to be an exciting time for the PMO over the next 10 years to see what those solutions are.